This is the continual evolution of the East Coast beat, um, picking up from the last video, um, the story of Diamondback and Scarecrow. The bakery was actually a CIA safe house that at one point was a cafe that Nazi officers would have their morning bread. Scarecrow is already here, Basil the cook says as they walk towards the kitchen. As Diamondback comes closer to the tables, he sees Scarecrow, thin and pale, sipping on espresso and eating biscottis. Diamondback has seen Scarecrow's files. Don't trust him, his superiors would say. Diamondback didn't trust Scarecrow. He loved him. He had seen pictures of Scarecrow, a young, built soldier, but now the file claims he's a psychologically imbalanced junkie with a history of violence. But why do we work with him? Diamondback once asked. Scarecrow smiles, with coffee and cigarette stained teeth, and what was his most recent score, a vintage 1970s wool sweater that he had found at a thrift store by the river. Okay, Scarecrow says, tonight we meet with Blue. You ready for this? He asked Diamondback. I can almost guarantee it's going to get bad, he adds. Ready, answers Diamondback. Um, this particular story that I'm writing right now, actually, it was with my partner Rain, and we had another scout with us that night. And normally it's just Rain and I, but this scout, he was celebrating his wife's divorce. He was celebrating his divorce from his wife. I was celebrating my 1 year divorce from my ex-wife. And Rain had a girlfriend, I think. But we decided we met this girl at a club. We had met her a couple of times at the soldiers' bars and clubs, and she was being really friendly to us. And she bought us a champagne flute, and she bought it, and it was full of Southern Comfort and Coke and 150 straws. So, like a dumbass, I'm sucking on like 20 straws at a time, and we get nice and lit, and we go off, and we end up going to we had heard there was a BDSM club. So we go walk into this BDSM club, and I'm so drunk at this point, I'm blacking in and out of consciousness and doing some pretty dumb shit, to be honest. And so we actually get into the club, and this guy told us, "Oh yeah, at the club, when you walk to the door, there's going to be a dude with a chain, and there's going to be like another dude, or some girl will be sitting there, and that's when you know that you've walked into the BDSM club." So we go in there, and you have to walk down a flight of stairs, and then turn uh, to the right, walk down another flight of stairs, and then you're actually in an underground, like, dungeon, you know what I'm saying? And we go in there, and I was blacked out. Like I said, I was blacking in and out of consciousness, so I can't remember exactly how everything went. But at one point, some big, like 6 foot something German dude with huge fucking muscles, like this guy's arms were huge. Um, he grabs me by my throat, and he pushes me up against this pillar that's in the middle of the dance floor. And he keeps telling me, "Ich möchte tanzen mit dir. I want to dance with you." And I was like, "Ich möchte kein tanzen mit dir. I don't want to dance with you." You know what I'm saying? I was too drunk and all this other shit. And I was just like, oh my God, this guy. And he already had his hand around my throat. So there was nothing I could do. Like, if he wanted to hurt me, all he had to do was just crush you know what I'm saying? It would have been over like that. So, but at one point, I fucking went for his arm. He let go of me when he realized that I was willing to fight. Big, huge bar fight erupts. And Me and one of the scouts get out of there. And when we're standing on top, we realize Rain is still down in there. So we go down in there, and Rain's talking to this girl. And later on, he's thinking, I don't know if that was a girl or a guy. And I was like, you know what? Neither do I. You know what I'm saying? But that was the whole thing. He's all, I don't know if that was a girl or a guy. But so I ended up getting arrested that night because I was just too drunk. We did some more dumb shit, and I got arrested. So for being drunk, which is one reason why I don't drink. But like I said, so the meeting with Blue, the girl at the club that bought us the drinks. Anyway, like a couple days later, Rain says, "Hey, that girl is back." And we go into this room, and she's there, and she's got sacks of meth. And she's telling us for every sack that you sell, you get 150 marks, which was about $100. So she's all, for every sack you sell for 400, you get to keep 100. You know what I'm saying? And I grabbed Rain, and I was like, bro, we ain't doing this. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, we're not starting it. We're not going to become fucking methamphetamine dealers in the military. But that's what this whole story is revolving around, is I'm changing the plot from just us going to, two soldiers, getting too drunk and, getting choked at a BDSM club. And then finding out that the girl that was buying us drinks the whole weekend was Methamphetamine Connect that was trying to move her way onto our base. So Diamondback, being the most, proper militant type soldier that I have as a character, he's been hired by his mission with the military is to he's working like undercover. And Scarecrow used to be prior military, but for the last couple of years he's been rogue in Germany. And at one point, the CIA and him had gotten into contact, and now he serves basically as an escort, as a go-to guy for Diamondback, as Diamondback is pretending to be criminal. Diamondback is pretending to be a criminal on behalf of the U.S. military. It's his mission, and he's working with Scarecrow. But the whole thing is the military thinks that Scarecrow is actually a true criminal. And so Diamondback asked, well, why are we working with him? But the whole thing is it's all backed by the CIA anyway, so it's not just an army thing. So that's the situation that Diamondback is in, is, he sees Scarecrow, and Scarecrow is a little more free because he's not in the military. So Scarecrow can do this, Scarecrow can do that. Scarecrow doesn't have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Scarecrow doesn't have to go on a 6-mile ruck march on Friday afternoon, And he sees that Scarecrow has transitioned from being in the military to, life. And he's got Scarecrow, he, like I said in the story, his simple pleasure in life was that he found, that vintage sweater with the cool little design, for a couple marks at a secondhand store. But his dossier, his file is saying, oh, this guy's psychologically unstable and violent, but yet Diamondback sees him, and the first thing he thinks is, oh, he probably got a sweater at a thrift store. You know what I'm saying? He's not thinking, oh, that's I'm gonna make Scarecrow a combat vet. That's not, an ex-combat vet, that disappeared into the German night and then reemerged, 3 years later as a CIA contact. You know what I'm saying? So that's what Diamondback's thoughts are. Is he knows not to trust him, but he can't help but like him and be admired by him, and see the freedom that Scarecrow has found after the military. So yeah, but like I said, that was the story of that was the story of the meeting with Blue. Blue was a real person. I call her Blue because that was the color of her eyes, and she was trying to get U.S. soldiers to sell meth for her. And like I said, it was $100 a sack. $400 for the sack, you get to keep 100. You know, and I pulled my partner out of that room in a heartbeat. I was like, bro, we're not gonna do this. You know what I'm saying? I don't need the money. I don't want to get involved selling meth. And I mean, and when I was in the army, I didn't even smoke weed. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's the story of Diamondback and Scarecrow at this point. So the continual evolution of the East Coast beat.